When the door quietly closed behind Veronica, she leaned against the wall and felt the weight of the day pressing down on her. Everything seemed both too noisy and empty at the same time. The house was filled with the quiet hum of activity their son and daughter were playing in their room. It seemed like a normal evening, but inside, Veronica was in turmoil. She couldn't believe she had ended up in this situation. A few months ago, she had made a mistake that was now tearing apart everything she and Maxim had built over 10 years of marriage. They had 2 beautiful children, a healthy and strong family, or so she had thought. But one accidental encounter, her dissatisfaction with herself, and accumulated exhaustion led to what happened. Maxim didn't find out about the affair right away, but once the truth came out, their lives changed drastically. In his eyes, she saw pain and disappointment that they couldn't hide, not even for the sake of their children. He kept a calm exterior, and they even continued living under the same roof, but everything was different now. Although they tried not to let the children see the strain, Veronica knew they felt that something was wrong. Children always sense it. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, Maxim sat down at the table and began a conversation that Veronica had been dreading. "I don't know how we move forward." His voice was quiet but filled with bitterness. "I keep thinking about it, and I can't find an answer." Veronica sat across from him, her heart tightening with fear and shame. "I understand," she began, barely holding back tears. "I know I've hurt you. I can't even explain why it happened. It is not an excuse, but I just lost myself. At some point I stopped feeling important, stopped feeling understood. But it wasn't your fault. It is mine." Maxim remained silent for a long time, his gaze directed elsewhere. Then he looked at her. "We have 2 children," he finally said. "They deserve to have a strong family. But I am not sure I can bear this. Every time I look at you, I remember." His voice broke, and he turned away. Veronica realized how deep his pain was and understood that her betrayal wasn't just an infidelity of love but the destruction of the trust that their family had been built on. In the weeks that followed, they tried to find a solution that would keep their family together for the sake of the children. Both of them knew the kids shouldn't suffer because of their problems, but staying together just for the appearance of a happy family would be unfair to both them and the children. They decided to try family therapy. It was a difficult step, but both Veronica and Maxim knew that open conversations and self-work were their only chance. During therapy sessions, they were finally able to express themselves. Veronica talked about her inner emptiness and how she had slowly drifted away from Maxim without even realizing it. Maxim, in turn, admitted that he had felt distant as well over the past years but had never known how to express it. The therapist helped them see that their problems had begun long before the affair. The infidelity was just a symptom of deeper issues in their marriage: lack of communication, loss of emotional connection, and feelings of loneliness within the relationship. These problems had gradually grown until they reached a breaking point. For the children, Veronica and Maxim tried to create as stable an environment as possible. They continued spending time together and did their best to ensure the kids didn't feel the full weight of their parents' struggles. But at the same time, they realized that honesty was also important for the children. They couldn't keep pretending that everything was perfect. One day, when the children asked again why Mom and Dad didn't live together anymore, Maxim decided it was time to be open with them. He sat down next to them and said, "Mom and Dad are going through a tough time right now. We love you both and will always be your parents. But sometimes, even adults make mistakes, and we need time to work through them." The children listened, and while it was difficult for them to fully understand, they sensed the sincerity of his words. Months passed. Not all the problems were resolved, but Veronica and Maxim managed to rebuild their relationship. Their marriage was no longer the same. It had become more mature and more conscious. They learned how to talk about their feelings without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. They realized that a family is not a perfect picture but a living entity that requires care and attention. The affair wasn't forgotten, but it no longer dominated their lives. Instead, they focused on becoming better parents and partners to each other. For the children, their parents once again became examples of how, even after the most challenging moments, it is possible to find a path to healing and love.